I didn't know how much of a mediocre reading year I had until I made this list. Hello, Kai here. I am going to tell you all about the top 10 books of 2022. Keep in mind, it's December 22nd. 2022 is not over. I am not over. I'm not done reading for the year. Like, I'm gonna keep reading until the end of the year. I'm not gonna stop when it magically becomes December or whatever the fuck. And there's actually a book that I want to finish this year before the ball drops, because holy fuck, I can't believe I haven't finished it. It's actually in the other room in my TBR box, and that is none other than La Bona by Otsuka Moshbag. I am the last fan of hers to have read this, and I know that, but that's who I am as a person, so it's okay. That's a 5-star prediction for me. I think I'm gonna really like that book, but that would not be able to make it on this list since I haven't read it, and I don't know that for sure. And another book is one that I have yet to finish. It's actually right here, and that is Milkman by Anna Burns. I just started this book like 4 days ago, and I really like it, and honestly could see it becoming like a favorite. But now we are here to talk about the books that I did read and do know belong on this list. The reason why I say that I had like a mediocre year and I didn't even realize it is because like I wrote number 1, which is a sure one. Like it's one of my favorite books that I've read so far. After like the number 1 spot, I was like, the next one wasn't even a close second or third. It was more like a 4th option. Like it felt like it should have been in 4th place. That's how I knew I didn't have a great reading year. I'm gonna do it backwards too, by the way. So I'm gonna start at number 10. So without further ado, at number 10, I put The Trees by Percival Everett. I read this for the Booker Prize. It was long listed and short listed, and it is a story about race and racism's ghosts. For lack of a better word. Basically what happens in The Trees is there is these murders that keep happening, and there's these police and people who are trying to figure out what's going on. Why are these murders randomly happening in this little town in Mississippi? And one of the people who gets killed like looks like Emmett Till, and the dead bodies of the murdered suspects will like get up and go, and then it'll happen again. And so that's a really, really intriguing way in putting what Percival Everett wanted to say, like, in a story. And basically it talks a lot about Emmett Till, and it talks about, like, and, like, this is what I meant by, like, the ghosts. It's just, like, he's basically haunting the person who was at fault for murdering him. And iconic. I mean, I love that. What more can I say? It was a page turner. It had me hooked. And, you know, I really want to read his new book, Dr. No. But yeah, I just think that The Trees is an important story, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to read it. At number 9, we have a book that I just recently read called Our Wives Under the Sea. This is a short book about 2 women. One who's like a marine biologist, and she has a journey to go in a submarine with 2 other people to figure something out, while her wife stays at home doing whatever, and then she's supposed to come back 2 weeks later. 6 months pass by, and she has not returned from her trip under the sea until she does. Her wife heard nothing from her for 6 months, and then when she comes back, she's not the same person. She is not the same person that she used to know. By the end, it might have you tearing up a bit. All right, that's what I'm going to say. It's like an interesting and dynamic take on a romance. It's just the love of 2 people who have known each other for a while and who have had experiences with each other and who just care deeply, would do anything for the next person. And it's great, but also very sad. And it's like when she finds out, you know, like, oh, something is weird. The one who went under the sea, she'll just like leave the water on for hours on end staring at it, and like the other one will be like on the phone or trying to do stuff, and like she just hears the bathwater running. Like, it's just thing after thing. Like, she does some peculiar things all of a sudden, and both of them kind of don't know why. At number 8 is Heartbroke by Chelsea Bieker. This is a short story collection, and it was great. You know, it's hard to say what it's about when it's like a short story collection, but all of them take place in California, in this small little town in California. Some of the stories kind of attached to Godshot, which is Chelsea Bieker's other book, her debut, and one of my favorite books. I absolutely love that book. It keeps you so entertained. I love the way that Chelsea Bieker does dialogue. It's the most realistic thing ever. I need realistic dialogue because otherwise it just feels weird or cheesy or pathetic. Like I'm kind of the same way with like acting too. Like if there's something a little bit off about somebody's acting, I'm like, okay, I hate it. Like why can't you do better? And the same thing happens to me when I'm like reading dialogue. Why can't you do better? Like why can't you act like a human right now? Like the whole thing about acting or writing dialogue is you're supposed to really encapsulate the nuances of human language and mannerisms, right? And like Chelsea Bieker got that. She got that. She can grasp that. And I need more of that. And so I think that's what I love the most about Heartbroke is exactly that. And like the characters are so real. They are your next door motherfucking neighbors. Like it's crazy. Like the most realistic people with the most realistic problems. Give me more of that. Give me more of that. It gets dark. It also gets really dark and really like twisted at some points, but then also it kind of is cute. But it really is, it's the human experience written on paper in such a perfect, amazing way. Chelsea Bieker's underrated, and I will never shut up about that. And also, I want her to marry me because she's like fucking hot as hell. At number 7, which I just realized that I think this should be switched. I think Heartbroke should be at number 7, and this should be at number 8. But Rest and Be Thankful is what I have here. This book is about a woman who works at a ICU ward for like infants. And, you know, basically just talks about the struggles of that, which you could probably imagine. You know, they go there, like the babies go there because they're not doing well already. Anything could happen. And like, it talks about like the stress and the anxiety and the depression. It also delves into her like love life, like relationship wise, and how this job affects her relationship and like everything that she does outside of that place still wholeheartedly and like in negative ways, just because she has to experience these babies who didn't get fucking chances, never be able to. It's like I don't even like talking about this book because it really gets to like, it's just like that's just, it's dark. Like, you know, nobody wants to think about such a bad, awful thing happening. So it was hard to read, but luckily it's a very short book. It's probably like 150 pages. I am glad I read it. Emma Glass is a very interesting author. I've also read Peach by her, and she has some dynamic writing. Beautiful. I think I did a January wrap up and I talked about it in there. So way down there if you want to see it. The next book, I actually have this one with me. All these rest of these books I have not had, but number 6 is, and please don't judge me, Ducks Newburyport at number 6. Yes. I wish I had posted the fucking video where I read a bunch of thick books for the month of October. I haven't posted that. All the footage is still on my iMovie, and like I haven't finished editing it, and I don't know if I will eventually finish editing it to finally post it, because I read a shit ton for nobody to be seeing it, you know what I mean? Or if I'm just gonna end up deleting it because I'm too annoyed and stressed and fed up with myself. I don't know. Anyway, but my journey when I read this, let me just tell you, at first I was like, I don't think I like it. What the fuck is going on? And then I was like, I love it. Basically, if you don't know, it's a whole entire stream of consciousness story about this woman from Ohio who has 4 kids, and the entire time we're just in her head. Yes, all 970 pages. We are in her head, 988 in her head, and she is saying the fact that blah 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 blah, the fact that blah 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 blah, the fact that blah 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 blah. And it keeps going. The whole entire thing, except for the small sections where it's a storyline about this lion who has escaped the zoo and her cubs, and that is kind of a metaphorical sense of how this mother feels about her kids, and it kind of attaches a lot of the time. We see that happening throughout her stream of consciousness in the story. The lioness escaped like in Ohio, and it was literally a thing that was happening on the news and everything while she was having her thoughts. These thoughts will come up while she's in the bakery baking. These thoughts will come up when she's stranded on the side of the road when it's snowing. The thoughts keep going when her and her family are about to die from this crazy guy. It's a whole thing. And I love it. Fight me. And like, I love the references that is always in here. Like, I'm like, oh, I know that. Oh, that musical, that movie, that actor, that I love references. I don't care. Like, I think that that's a big thing. I think you either love references or you don't. And I love them. And this has a lot of references in it. And I think that's the one thing that I think it cringes people out and it's hard for them to get behind. Plus, of course, the repetitiveness of like, the fact that. But I think what's past that, I think it helped, honestly, when I had the audiobook. Because you don't have to necessarily be 1,000% present with a book like this. You're just in somebody else's brain for a second. Like, you have a stream of consciousness. So does she. And, like, you're just being somebody else for a second. And I loved that, too. For 988 pages, I can do that. I always want to read people's minds. I just want to know what people are like in their heads, and this is a perfect way of me seeing that and like just showing that. Like, I don't know, everything about it I liked. It's just right up my alley. I'm not out here telling everybody to read it. I'm not out here saying that I think that you should even, but I'm so glad that I did. I wasn't expecting. I thought it was gonna be like a novel, with these plots, like, I don't know, just a big thick saga. But it was more than that, and I really liked it. And it had me thinking sometimes, like a lot of the fucking time. And I, tabbed some things. Like, I had some things to say. Like, right here I said, God damn, we're experiencing a breakdown with her. I realized this minutes after reading this page, it just stuck in my mind. I remember that she was baking, and she was just going on, and it was like, her thoughts were like going so rapidly, and you could just like tell. It was just the energy that you could just tell. They were rapid and like non-stopping, and like it's like, okay, we're like having an anxiety attack with her right now. It's kind of crazy. Show me another book that does that. You can't. Exactly. I love the uniqueness of it too. I think that's the thing. If it's something that is new and experimental, it gets points for me. Next book, number 5, Crossroads by Jonathon Franzen. Yes, Franzen made it on here. It's the only one I've read, so it's not really saying anything. No, I loved Crossroads. This is a family saga. The dad is a pastor, and the kids are doing their own thing. I think there was like 5 of them, and it shows like each person's journey and the things that they're doing and how they ended up where they ended up. And by the end of it, like, it's just so crazy to think about where we are from the beginning to the end, because some of these characters went through full transformations of being a completely different human being, and that's what happened in the span of months and years, like how it was supposed to be in the book. Crossroads is going to be a trilogy, so I'm really looking forward to the first one. The next one, like, so much. I think about it all the time. I think about the second one all the time, and it's not even out. And I don't know what it's gonna be like, because I'm shook at where it ended still. But it's a long book. I love myself some big books. I do. This is exactly the type of long book I love. Like, just lose yourself into a story of other people. There you are. And I love the cover. The cover is dope, and I would love to have this in my library. All right, at number 4 we have Tomorrow Times 3. Yes. I mean, would this really be a top 10 books if this wasn't on here? It's everybody's favorite, right, of this year, or what? Probably not everybody's. But basically, that is a book about a guy named Sam and a girl named Sadie. They become friends when they're younger, and in the hospital, Sadie is there because of her sister. Like, her sister had cancer or something, and then like Sam is there because he broke his leg really badly, like fractured it. And they become friends in this room where they were playing video games. It basically starts there, and then we are following Sadie and Sam in their journey of making a video game all the way up until they're like 30 years old. So, I mean, what's not to fucking love? If it doesn't matter if you don't like video games, if you're not a video game person, I'm not really, I wouldn't consider myself as such at all. You don't need to know video games or like video games even to enjoy this book. If you're reading this book, you're here for Sam, you're here for Sadie, you're here for, what's his name? Jack? Jake? Bro, this book's just great. It's just great. At number 3, we have The Swimmers by Julia Otsuka. This book was amazing. I did not appreciate it the first time. I do plan on rereading it. What happened was I was listening to the audiobook while reading with it, and then I had to return it, and I wanted to get it again, but then somebody had it on hold, so I was never able to have the physical book while listening to the audiobook, like, for the rest of the time. It's a very, very short book. Like, it was a 4-hour audiobook. Not anything. And I was just like sitting there on the couch, like, listening to it. At first I was like, I don't get this. This is weird. The very first chapter, I was like you have to like get through the first chapter to realize what this book is actually about. Like, I remember being like, I don't get this book. Why do people care about this so much? And then I kept going, and wow. There's this one passage, that I just had to like type in my notes because of how good it was. I didn't even say what it's about. Basically, it's about this person she is a person who goes to the pool every day or once a week or whatever have you. Like, just she's one of the regulars at the pool in which she's talking about. The very beginning talks about like all the different types of swimmers that are about and the reason why people swim and like how much it helps like with this guy's certain health issues and how much it helps with this person's stress, like all that stuff. And then eventually a big rip in the pool happens and that place can no longer be used. So then we follow this woman who, after the swimming pool is no longer available, what happens to her? But it's so much more than that. That is not even close to where it's like fucking ends. And it's great. And the cover's dope. That's another thing too. At first I wasn't vibing with the cover. I didn't get it. And then I read it and I was like, I get it. It's also kind of sad. A little bit. Just so you know. Number 2. Almost at number 1, guys. Elena Knows. I read this because I read the International Booker Prize books. Most of them. And I'm so glad that I did read it. This one is about a older woman who has a daughter who they're kind of like estranged, but her daughter has killed herself. Like, apparently she jumped off of the bell tower at the church. And then Elena's like, no, that didn't happen. And no, my daughter, that couldn't have possibly happened. She would never do something like that. She had reasons why she knew she would never do that. Throughout the book, it kind of goes back between being only in Elena's mind to having conversations between Elena and her daughter, and you can see the turmoil that relationship had. Like, when I say Elena went on a journey, she quite literally did. Like, she was like walking like on a journey, and when she finally got to the place where she needed to be, she got an answer, but it wasn't what she was looking for. It wasn't what she wanted. It wasn't what she needed, but it was at the same time, like, it was what the woman, the answer. It was the answer. But it's a great book, and I think this was like a lot of people's like favorite on the International Booker list. Okay, my brain is turning into mush. I don't know if you can tell. Probably not, because I have editing skills and I will cut out every single time when it was obvious that was happening. But drumroll please. At number 1. This feels sad because I feel like I don't even have the passion of this. I read this book back in February. I really liked it and I wouldn't shut up about it for like 4 months. But now that has died down, so it feels like it's weird to make it number 1, and it happened so long ago. But anyway, number 1 is The Pisces by Melissa Broder. Look, beautiful story, except for not, it's actually really tragic. I really want it. I don't own the book, but I really want it so I can reread it. It's about a woman who is kind of at a dead end in her life, but she has her sister who has money and is success. And so she's asked to house sit her house and watch her dog while her sister is away. And so she's at this city that she's not usually at. She goes to this ocean and meets a merman. It kind of sets itself up kind of like a romance, and it keeps on going more or less like that, but we know that it's not really a romance because there's not a happy ever after. This woman just wants that merman. I think that's a big theme with Melissa Broder books, is just like desire and longing and want. And I think that the Pisces does a really, really good job at like depicting it. Something bad does happen to the dog though, so if you're not about that, then maybe don't read it. See, I don't really have the excitement that I used to about this book, but when I first finished it, I was just like, this is amazing. I love Melissa Broder's writing a lot, like a shit ton. And I think that this is such a creative and like impactful story. It'll really sit with somebody's mind, and I think that's what books are supposed to do. So, okay. I have been sitting here filming for 34 fucking minutes. I think it's time for me to say goodbye. I'll eventually film my worst books of 2022, but I think I want to be drunk when I do that, so that's gonna have to be a little bit later. That's it. That's my top 10 books of 2022. Thank you for watching. Can you tell that I never know how to fucking finish a book? Fuck. Until I have brain fog.